Horrific memories are never forgotten. Sometimes they get worse and worse. The damage was done to me one night, so long ago, off Smoky Hollow Road. It was a cool, cloudy fall evening. A pretty heavy storm was predicted, and the wind was full of the many smells and feelings that seemed to be harbingers of such autumn storms in the upper Midwest. It was also Saturday date night with Tammy. I was extremely excited about this particular date, as my brother Bill had let me borrow his Chevelle, a big front seat, huge back seat. Bill was always pretty nice to me, even though I was kind of that pesky little brother type. Our family had been through a lot, and I always did what I could to keep things tight between Bill and myself. Bill was really a pretty tough guy though, and he ran with a bunch of tough guys, with a very wild side to them. Bill's friends were bigger than us, and to be honest, I told him that they scared me, so I always tried to avoid them. They sometimes did things to scare me or intimidate me when they came over to the house. I totally kept my distance, especially if they came over high or drunk. That Saturday night, Bill got picked up by his buddies, and Tammy and I got the Chevelle. She and I generally didn't make plans. We just sort of had a loose routine of grabbing a bite to eat, hanging out with friends for a bit, and then disappearing somewhere to have a few beers and play with each other. Around 11 p.m., we decided to drive out of town to a generally known but never too crowded party spot of Smoky Hollow Road. It was a very beautiful place with a nice view. Smoky Hollow Road took us through a tunnel of maple trees, down a steep bank, then leveled off to where, if you take a right, you head down a two-track road between a sugar bush and a meadow. Right at the end of the road, the meadow widens with some scattered trees on a nice slope overlooking the bay. I turned off my headlights way before I pulled into the meadow and saw just a very few cars, all keeping their distance, except off, further ahead, I could see a couple cars parked together, and it was unmistakably my brother's friends. Their cars, their voices, and their behavior. Not wanting any part of that, and really not wanting to be noticed at all, I pulled in under the younger maple trees at the edge of the sugar bush. We rolled down the windows and popped a beer, just chatting and giggling as we drank. The wind was picking up a bit. It was becoming chillier and felt damp. I could hear my brother Bill and his friends. They were yelling a lot. Seemed like quarreling almost. They had obviously been there a while and were getting pretty drunk, I guess. Tammy and I finished a couple beers each and decided to move our party to the back seat where I had considerately already provided a couple pillows and blankets. The fighting and racket from my brother and his pals became louder and worse, so we rolled up the windows before we shut the doors. Tammy and I spent some quality time in that back seat and then dozed off for God knows how long. We were awakened by the sounds of the storm that kept its appointment and was now hitting the area with some intensity. The storm clouds obscured both moon and stars. It was pitch dark, and the pounding rain and howling wind could be heard just outside of the canopy provided by the maples we were under. What might have awakened us, though, was a terrible scraping, scratching sound on the roof of the car. It was both loud and yet dampened, sweeping and almost moaning. At first, it really creeped us out. Back and forth, back and forth. Quickly, then slowly, back and forth, back and forth. A thought rushed into my mind that a limb of a tree above us had snapped, or was sagging or something, and was scratching the paint on my brother's car. We have to get out of here, I told Tammy. We both got out of the back seat, crouching as we quickly ducked into the front seat while trying to avoid getting soaked. I drove as carefully as I could, taking Tammy home, murmuring a prayer that any damage to the roof of Bill's Chevelle could easily be polished out or something. A sinking, lost feeling knotted my stomach up big time. I escorted Tammy to her front door in the pouring rain. A quick kiss later, and she was safe at home. I parked Bill's car in the usual place when I got home. As I snuck into my room, I saw Bill's bedroom door open. Bill was not in his room. He was not even home yet. I got a much-desired reprieve for the night, so I crawled into bed and passed out. Late the next morning, my dad shook me and told me to wake up. Quite groggy, I sat up in bed. Dad asked me if I had seen Bill last night. I lied and said no, I hadn't. He then proceeded to tell me that Bill had been murdered last night. His body had been found in the edge of the sugar bush on the Tompkins farm, strangled and hanging upside down from a tree limb. I went numb, and Dad's eyes were pouring tears as he proceeded to tell me that Mr. Tompkins had discovered Bill's body on his way out to set up his deer blind. Dad held my forearm gently as he told me that the police had discovered some very unusual circumstances regarding Bill's murder. Bill's fingertips were horrifically worn down. Most fingernails were missing and some fingertips worn to the bone. Now who or what in heaven's name could have done that, he pondered. How could that have happened? How could his fingertips get worn down like that? My son, my son. Dad was a huge mess of torment. My dad could not get rid of that Chevelle fast enough for me, but he could not help me get rid of anything else. That nightmare will never, ever go away.